Welcome, stranger. Been a while. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove the top cover on an SRT102, I think it is. Let me check. Hold on. 102. There we go. I'm awake. Anyway, the 102 does not come off like the 101 or the 100, and so you can't really use this video as a reference to getting the 100 off or the 101. But I will show you how to get the 102 off, and after I get it off, I'll show you how to put it back on. So let's get started. SRT 102, there's proof. Now we know what kind of camera we're working on. See this little red dot? That's aluminum plate, and it's colored red. And on the 100 and the 101, this is a screw, and it has to come out. But the trouble is, the screw is underneath that plate. And the trick is getting it off without damaging that plate, because there are no replacements. And if I ever make a video, which I probably will someday, on the 101, I will show you how to get that plate off. And then after you get that plate off, there is a straight edge screw in there. Stick in a straight edge screwdriver, back this out, and the top will come off. On the 102, this does not have to come off. It can stay in the camera. But that's the difference between the 101 and the 100 and the 102. And some of the others, is that on the 102, you undo this screw here and this screw here, and then underneath this cover is a screw here and a screw here. And you have to get those out to remove the top cover, but you do not have to remove this, which you do on the others. Why they did it that way, I have no idea. They look so similar, one would be fooled, and somebody might, on this camera here, they might think, well, this is the same as the 101. I'll just take this out. Anyway, we're going to start out with the rewind, which is what I normally start with when I'm making videos about how to remove the top cover. Okay, we lift it up and unlatch it, and it's off. Now, on some cameras, Minoltas, be switching back and forth here, there is a stud right along here that you can press and remove the back cover. But the SRT models do not have that, and it stays attached until you remove it. Take the screws out. And so what you want to do is you want to get this knob off and close the door. But the trouble with a lot of cameras is that once you close the door, you have no way of getting it back open. So I guess the first thing I need to show you is how to get that door open if you get in a situation like that. So we'll go ahead and close that. And you see the screw here, and you see a screw here on the bottom cover. I'm going to remove those screws, but I'm not going to make you sit through that, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera and remove those screws, and then I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've removed this bottom cover, and the way you open the back is right here. You pull up and open the back, and that's fine. But like I said, on many cameras, they have a way of removing the door, so you don't get in a situation where you close the door and then you can't get the camera back open. On this camera, it's fairly easy. Not all cameras have this feature. I'm going to close it now, and if you will look right, and I'll eventually get it here. Maybe I'm a little too close here. On this particular camera, if you press right here, watch right up here and watch the door. See how it pops open? That not all cameras have that, so you can't go into some cameras and plan on using something like that. It just has to be on this Minolta. And you say, well, so what? What am I trying to say here? I'm going to go ahead and open this and I'll show you so what. Okay. To get this rewind knob off, you stick your tweezers in there and the fork and you go counterclockwise. And as you can see, it's unscrewing, and take that off. Got to get this rewind off. Okay. Now what happens to a lot of amateurs is that they take off the rewind knob and they say, well, okay, fine. And then they close it shut, and then they press down. Watch, see I'm pressing? They go too far, and it gets down here where it's flush. And when it's flush, how are you going to get it back out? You can't. You can't push up because the door is closed. And I've seen situations on some cameras where I have to disassemble the whole, I guess I need to open it here to show you even what to press that open to open it. And come on. There we go, got it open. In that situation, what you have to do is you have to peel back the leather, and there's usually 2 screws here, and you take those screws out, and there's a spring, and then you have to take this top part off, the screws and the spring, to get this latch open, and it can be a pain. And in fact, there's some cameras you can't even do that, and that's another story about how to get it out. But that's the reason this particular latch here is so important on the Minolta cameras, and it's a good thing to know about. If it has a release here, be sure and take the film door off the camera so you don't have this problem. And that way it gives you access to this right here, and if you knock it down too far and you can't reach it, you can just push it back up. That's the main point. Other than that, I'm getting sidetracked here. So I'm going to close that because I know I'm safe, because I've got my latch right here. Okay, we've got the rewind knob off. It has no washers, which a lot of cameras have washers under the rewind knob. This one doesn't, which thank goodness, because those washers tend to get lost. So, got it off now. And the next thing we need to get, I'm moving my mouth away from the mic, the reason it sounds so funny, is this right here. It's a nut. I call it a nut. It is a nut, but it's just a strange looking nut. It's a flat round nut. And you can see that it's got 2 notches in it here and here. And on the ones that are really stuck, I have a pair of pliers with square notches, teeth in it. And I can just fit them in there and really put some torque on it. But I always try these first because they're handy, and they're round. They're not square, but they're good enough for getting off one that's not really stuck. And move this camera up here. I'm having trouble with my cameras here. I like to get in close if I can. On a lot of the videos that people make, they got the overhead cam, but it's like a foot away and you really can't see what's going on. You can see here that's just a nut that goes over it, and you can see the 2 notches there. So we got that off. Okay, and that's it. The rewind section here is off, and you can see this hole here. So when you lift the top off, it's just going to come right up, and you won't have any problems. A lot simpler than some cameras that have washers and other things going on. The only thing that makes this a little bit harder is the fact that you can't get the door off, and so you have to use that latch there. I suppose I could add that the door has 4 screws along here. You can peel this back, and you can undo those screws, and this part will be free, but this part will still stay latched. It's a pain. As long as you're aware of it, you'll be fine. Okay, let's soon move on. Okay, we're recording. Volume is off. Flip that up. Glad I saw that. Okay, the next thing we're going to take off is this advanced lever assembly. Pretty simple, really. The only problem is this nut. This is again a round nut, and back in the 80s when I started repairing these cameras, this was really easy to get off, and we used a wrench. I forget now what it was called. A wrench clamp, maybe. I'll show a picture here at the top of the screen of what they look like. And they worked really good. You just put it around this and squeezed and went counterclockwise, and it came right off. But over the years, they've gotten harder and harder to get off. It takes more torque, simply because the natures of metals to kind of weld together over time. I did a little bit of reading on it. It's more of an oxide that builds up between the surfaces. But those clamps were absolutely worthless after so many years, and I had to figure out other ways to get this nut off, because it really was tight. I mean, tight in the sense that you had to have something as strong as a pair of channel locks to break it free. And once it was free, it came off relatively easy. But for some reason, there are certain parts on cameras that for some reason over the years get harder and harder to remove. Or shall we say, breaking them, getting them to move that first quarter of an inch is really hard. After that, they kind of loosen up. But like I said, I did a little reading on it, and oxide builds up between the threads, and what caused it. So there are different solutions to it, and I tried them all. And what I finally ended up using was these right here. I got a pair of, I don't know what you'd call these. It's was a channel lock, and I got a Drumo tool, and I smoothed it out on two sides, here and here, to where it would fit really good. Made contact, and then I put electrical tape around these to prevent them from marring the surface. And I've already had this top off priorly to work on the camera. The camera's been in my shop quite a while, and I'm making this video, post video, after I've already taken the camera apart and cleaned it and put it back together. And that's not, there we go, it's finally moving. I had to bear down kind of on it, but you can see that it comes off like so, counterclockwise, and like so. And let's see if I scratched it up any. Don't see anything bad. Yeah, I see a little bit right there. I may have done that though when I was going into the camera, when it was tight. Camera's been sitting around for years, and these really get tight on them. But it's a nut, and it's a problem. And you will have to decide how you want to get it off. You can get any of them off if you put enough pressure on them, but the trouble is the surface gets boogered or marred up, or whatever you want to call it. And those wrench clamps no longer work because it takes a lot of torque, as I said. And this is my solution. You may come up with a better solution. I'm sure that something made of wood would work better. But this is a commercial repair shop, and I've got to get in these cameras and get out. And this is my solution. Was just to this, I can put any amount of pressure on it I want. That when the electrical tape gets ratty, I can just replace it. There's none on it right now. But that's how I get them off, just so you know. So you're prepared when you go into your camera. It may be really, really tight, or it may come off real easy. Maybe somebody's been in there ahead of you and they kind of broke it loose years ago, and it's will come right off. So set that aside. Now, on top of the advanced lever are two washers. I'm going to set this back down here, and it's probably going to fall off onto the table. The one on the bottom is just a washer, and it goes down first. And then on top of it, this is kind of a strange thing. It presses up and presses down. I looked it up. I don't even know what they were called. Sometimes it's got various names. It's called a pressure washer or resistance washer. And the reason this goes down first is to cover that hole right there. If you didn't cover that hole, the resistance washer, I told those ridges would fall down in that hole there. So this, when you're putting it back together, remember that this goes down first and keeps the ridges from falling down in that hole. That's the important thing. And here's right here, and I'll put it on top there. So you can see that if that first washer wasn't there, and you'd say, well, why is that important? It's important because I get cameras all the time that amateurs have been inside it and they get it reverse. They put the flat washer on top, and that's not the way it goes. Flat washer goes down first, then this, what was it called? Resistance washer, pressure washer goes on next. Doesn't look much like a pressure washer. The purpose of it, if you didn't have those washers on there, look, it would just flop around like this. And the purpose of the pressure washer is to keep pressure on that advance lever, so whichever position you move it in, if you're taking pictures and you pull it out, it stays in position. If you're through taking pictures and you push it in, it stays in position. But compared to some cameras, that's really simple. Very few parts. And as you can see, the top cover comes right up to the edge, so we got that off. That was simple. Like the rewind. This camera is very simple, actually, compared to some. Now, I'm going to go on to the speed control next. So let's stop the camera a second and we'll come back to that. Okay, I'm back. Finally. Had some problems. Technical problems, as they say. Okay. We did the rewind. We did the advance. Now we're going to do the speed. The speed control on most cameras is a problem. And the reason is because it's connected to the camera through linkage underneath this knob. And if the linkage is not engaged properly to the knob, then when you put the knob back on, let's say you took the knob off, right now it's at 125, ASA 100, and you undid the screw here, you pulled it off, you worked on the camera, and then when you came back, you just plopped it down, maybe you didn't change it, the camera will change. Usually the linkage inside is spring-loaded. So when you pull the knob off, it snaps all the way left or all the way to the right and changes. It rarely just stays in this proper place. Or let's say that while you're working on the camera, you change this setting up here, to 250 or to 200, and then you come up here and you bolt it down and you say, yeah, ready to go. No, because the speed knob now is not in sync with the linkage underneath. And that's the problem that you run into with Konicas and Nikons and Canons. And that's why it's so important that when you take this off, you take it off in the very same position every time, and you put it back in the very same position, counting on the linkage underneath, which way it's spring-loaded, whether it's spring-loaded clockwise or counterclockwise. And so on each camera, I already know from years of experience where to set this speed control. So when I put the knob back on, it links up properly with the linkage underneath. Now on this particular camera, you set it to B, like so. And get a little closer here. If I can find my camera, must have moved the camera. There we go. You set it at B, ASA, you set it 64. Now that's only for this camera. For different cameras, the setting for the speed control will be different. And in each video I give you for a particular camera, I will always tell you where to set it up. But in this camera, it's B64. You need to set that before you remove this knob. And then when you put it back on, you need to put it back on at B64. And if you do that, the linkage underneath will match up with this knob. They'll interlock properly and the camera will work properly. So the only thing we need to remove is a screw right here. And I don't know if I can do that on camera or not. Yeah, looks like it's going to cooperate. There are some days. Now, you see this top plate moving up. Why is it moving up? Because there's a spring underneath it. That's why. See it? One of those little things that, as an amateur, you're always afraid things are going to spring out at you. Well, there's one right there. Not as bad as on some cameras. And I'm looking over here on my tray and trying to get a good view of it here for you. Come straight up like so. And you'll notice that there's two studs underneath. And some amateur repairmen don't realize that they're different sizes. Whoops. One is smaller than the other. You can see there the one closest to me, or closest to the camera, is shorter and narrower. And the one on the far side is longer and thicker. And so when you put it down on the camera at B64, I'm going to set this aside here. One will go here, the big one will go here, and the little one will go over there. And as far as the spring, usually I try to just leave it in place. Now you'll notice that, notice how the spring goes over here and hits the wall, follows the wall over here and goes in. You want to keep it in that position. And if it moves, which it can, you want to put it back in this position before you try to reassemble the camera. But I'm going to lift that off right now. Okay, there. Take that off. And that's all there is to it, really. The right here, let's see if I can, there we go. Here's what I meant about linkage and paying attention. Watch what happens when I move this to the clockwise. Or if anything happens, what am I doing wrong? I'm looking over at the monitor and I can't see. Oh, there we go. I need to go right. Sorry. Push it right and see it pop back. Push it counterclockwise. All cameras have this linkage problem. And that's why it's so important to remove your speed knob in exactly the right position. So let's say, I'm making this much too complicated and long, but let's say that you remove the knob at 125. I don't know where 125 is, but when you did, what's going to happen is no matter where this big one is at, it's going to pop here and stop there. So when you put the knob back on, that 125 is not going to hit in the right spot. And, you know, you can fool with it a while, and maybe you'll get it back right, maybe you won't. But that's what I meant about the fact that I know if I set the camera at B at ASA 64, this hole will always be here at about, what is that, about 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. And that on the knob, that stud that was sticking down, the wide one, the biggest one, goes here. And if you don't know that, you might spend an hour fooling around trying to figure out, and even if you get it back in, you might get it wrong. And this, I just leave alone. If I'm taking the camera apart, what I'll do is I'll get a scribe, and in fact, it wouldn't hurt to do it now, I suppose, on camera. I'll get a scribe and put a mark right about, like, say, I can't see too well. Eyes are not all that good. See that mark there? Whenever I mark a camera, I always mark it to where the mark is facing forward of the camera. So if I were to change this speed, and it were over here, and I was reassembling the camera, I know to change the speed to where this mark here is facing forward. And then if I do that, that it's at B, and that this linkage here is set for 64 ASA. And it's little things like that that can save you hours of frustration. And the problem is that even if you do get it back together, I said this in another video, but I'll say it again. When I was first started repairing cameras, I could work on them and fix them and get them back together, but I never was sure if I had fixed them properly or if I had put them back together properly. And there was always that nagging feeling. And that's the problem with being an amateur, is that you might get the top cover back on, you might get the speed control back on, but you're laying there in bed at night thinking, did I get that right? I mean, it was working, but did I actually do it right? Maybe it's in the wrong place. So there's some comfort in marking things like this and setting your speed on this camera bulb at 64 ASA, knowing that when you put the top cover down, that you know that it's in the same place as when you took it off, and it's going to match up and it's going to work. And that's probably enough about that. Okay, we've got the back up here. We got the ASA, we got the advanced lever off, the speed control off. So what is next? Next is this little cover right up here. Well, yeah, I know why they put this on here, come to think of it. But it just seemed weird to me. On the 101, they don't have this plate, and there's a reason for it. And I'm going to show you here just in a second why. Okay, and I am back. To break these things into small sections, or I'll get lost when I'm editing, or you'll get lost. And I don't know if I can. I'm trying to get that. You can look down the corner with the camera pointed at my back. Sometimes I can. I take the camera apart on monitor, but sometimes I've got to actually look at what I'm doing. Okay, and that's off. 2 screws, very simple, and this lifts off like so, and it's just a small cover, nothing special about it, except if you'll look, you'll see there's a little window here. That window is just clear glass or plastic. Looks like it's glued on here. Maybe move in closer and see. Yeah, it looks like it's glued in. And the glue looks like it's getting brittle and old. Anyway, you see that little window. Well, you say, well, what's that little window for? When you look through the prism, look through the viewfinder, there's a mirror right up here. I'm touching it, and you're seeing the light. You're seeing that mirror, and that mirror is focusing down to a small lens here, going through the cover and down here on your camera. And let's see here. Say it's at f/16. That's maybe a better way of explaining it. So that's what's special about the 102. That's what you're paying extra for. The 101, you can't see what f-stop your lens is set at looking through the viewfinder. You have to move your eye away from the viewfinder and look over the top and look down at your lens. Well, on the 102, what you're paying for, the extra, is that little area of the prism where they remove the mirror coating, and then you're looking through glass. You're looking at that mirror that is shining down through that little focusing screen through that cover, and you're pointing down at 16. So you can see when you're changing your f-stop on your lens, you can look in the viewfinder and see what f-stop you're set at. Pretty simple, hard to explain. Okay, we've got that off. So what's next? In my 45 years of repairing, I never have figured out why they put these screws here. They put one here and they put one here. And you can see it's a flat nose screwdriver, turns them. But the thing is they're not tight. They're not holding anything. In other words, you can't get the top cover off without removing them, but yet they're not really holding the top cover down. And I have always looked at that and wondered, well, why did they design it that way? Why isn't the hole small and the screw helps holding the top cover down? But it's not. It's just they've got this huge hole there, and they've got these screws on both sides, and you cannot get the top cover off until you get these both out. So I'm going to pause the camera just for a second and go ahead and remove those. Okay, I'm back. You can see them right there. They're fairly large. Like I said, I never have figured out why they put those in there, since they're really not holding anything. Set that aside. And you can see where they go in, one here and one there. This is what makes it different from the 101. The 101 doesn't have this assembly here, which lets you see your f-stop through the viewfinder. And so on the 101, all you do is remove this screw here to get the top cover off. But on the 102, you leave this in place and you remove this assembly here and remove this screw here and here. Okay, we're nearly there now. The only thing we need to do now is undo these top screws, here, here, and here. Remove those three, and the whole top cover just lifts off. You do not undo this. On many cameras, you undo these, but not on the Minoltas. On the Minoltas, you leave these screws in. Their purpose is to hold this piece of plastic in place. That's all they do. But on a lot of cameras, this screw here holds the top cover on, but not on this camera. So if you've worked on other cameras, you may think, well, I need to take these out. No, you don't. Not on this one. And so again, I'm going to remove those 3 screws and pause the camera and then come back. Okay, I'm back. The screw here, here, and right here have all been removed. And so now the top is ready to come off. Rewind, speed, advance, screws, this front cover, and as you can see, I'm just lifting it up here, left and right, not forcing anything. Comes off just like that. Now, what I'm about to show you or tell you is not just important, it's very important. This top is easy to get off, but you can get in so much trouble. I can't explain to somebody, maybe some young person out there saying, it's no big deal. You see this stack here. This stack now is loose. The top cover was holding it down. This string here goes over and goes around this top here several times. And another string, I think, is wrapped around either this or this and goes around this little wheel here, and then goes down around this and comes around to here, goes around another wheel here, and goes to the front and is attached to the f-stop stud here, which engages the lens. And it's two strings, but it acts like one, in the sense that the movement of one string will affect the other string. And it's very long and very complicated. And if this string on either side comes out of track, you will spend at least 1 to 2 hours putting it all back, if you can figure it out at all. I've been doing this 45 years, and I'm always very careful. And even as careful as I am, sometimes the strings all come out of track. And if they come out of track in one place and you try to fix it, it'll come out of track another place. And the whole thing is just a mess. And I can't imagine an amateur getting it all back the way it's supposed to be. I could explain to you, but it requires its own video, a long video, maybe over an hour, to explain how to get all these strings back in their tracks all the way to the front. And so you're saying, well, okay, you've impressed me. You might be thinking, now what? Now what? Okay, now what? This, on the rewind, you took this off, this nut. So as soon as you get the top cover off, you don't want to touch anything. You want to screw this down all the way. You don't have to tighten it with the hand tool, but make sure it's tight. Okay, now, if you happen to touch something, a string or something like that, you're not 100% safe, but it's not going to come off that shaft. So that's your protection, is that you want to immediately not touch anything. You want to get this nut on. You see, I don't know why you want the top cover taken off. Maybe you want to work on something, or maybe you're just curious. But the very first thing you always do is put this nut back on and make sure it's tight. Like I said, you don't have to use a hand tool and tighten it down, but make sure you get it back on there. Don't touch anything. Get it back on there. And I don't know how to impress that to you enough. If you ever ignore what I'm saying, and the string comes out, it can come out of track in a dozen different places, because it's really complicated in the way it's wrapped around here. And its purpose is for up here. See right here. See that moving? Okay. And when you change the speed control, look here. See the string attached to it here? It's attached to it. It goes over here, through here, around this, see, around the top here. The stud here that engages the lens. It controls the bottom part. They're interlinked. And I guess I need to shut up, but they also control the needle in the camera, the target. This right here is your target, and this lever right here presses against it when when you've got a, not at B, but if you're up at 125 ASA 100, this will engage that. So you have to realize the string is controlling your target. It's attached to your speed. It's attached to your lens. And oh my God, you never want to get all this out of track. I have to remove all this to pull the mirror cage and get it down. But even then, I'm careful to, what am I trying to say? I know how to do it, and I know how to lock things down. Like when I take the string off the front here, right here, I tape it to the front of the body. So everything stays in place. And I keep this nut on here the whole time I'm working on the camera. So, but the meter, when I'm working on the camera, has to come out. So it's, this video is about removing the top cover. And I'm showing you how to remove the top cover. I can't explain all that string business. It would, like I said, would take its own video. But I just wanted to warn you about that. Okay, second warning. I don't know what you're doing, why you want the top cover off. But if you take the top cover off and you intend to work on the camera, I guess I need to get in close again. You need to undo these two screws and these two screws. And the reason for it is that this mirror here, which I'm pushing on, if you leave it on the camera, you see how it's sticking out? When you lay the camera down, sooner or later, you're going to bend this. And if you bend it, it's really hard to get it lined up again. And this down here is made of plastic, and you will lay the camera down and this will break. I know I've done it in the past. You can see it right here. This is plastic. You can see through it. Over here it's metal. Of course, you can't see through that. But the thing is that you want to remove these two screws and get this plastic focusing screen off. And you want to undo these two screws, and you want to get this mirror off. And even when you are reassembling the camera and you put them back, they still may not be lined up properly, because these screws here have play in them. In other words, if I don't know if I even want to, but if I were to undo this and undo this, let's see if I can, okay, there. You see how loose it is now? The same will happen with this focusing screen right here. The screws are, they're not real tight in the sense, the tolerances are loose. That's what I guess I'm trying to say. Tighten that back up. I may have to go back in there and realign that up after this video is done. But, so even after you put it together, well, you say, well, how do you line it up? You look through the viewfinder. You put your lens on, you look through the viewfinder, and you're looking at your f-stop on your lens and counting on where this mirror's at. It could be too far to when you look through the f-stop, may only half of it be showing, or maybe it's showing to the left or the right. Same way with this right here. This doesn't seem to be as critical as this mirror is. I wonder if I can even see the mirror. Okay, there it is right there. You can see the little mirror under here. It's glued in here, and quite often when the cameras come in, this is popped out because it's been there so long it's gotten brittle. Glue has gotten brittle, and sometimes the mirror will just pop off, and I have to clean it and re-glue it back in with contact cement. As far as this right here, this focusing screen, it does not change position. It usually stays in position. It does not pop out, but this plastic, it will break real easy. That's pretty much it. The SRT101 has this same problem over here. You need to get that on and protect all your strings and levers and whatever else is over here so it stays in position. The 101, you won't have this problem because the 101 does not have a f-stop window, so it doesn't have any of this. and nose is itching. Before we leave, a quick tour, nothing special. Let's see if I can do it here. Your wheel, the film door is closed, so you can see if I were taking pictures, that's your counter. This right here is your slow speed escapement. I don't know why they call it that, but that's what they call it. And this controls the speed of your camera from a 30th down to a full second. It does not control the high speeds, like a 60th on up to 1000. This whole thing is modular. You undo the screw here and here to take it out. You can see the pivot points here and here and here. I oil those top and bottom and a few other points in it. Sometimes I'll take it out and oil it. Sometimes I can oil it by not removing it. And then you've got your speed control here, which goes down the camera. Photo cell here at the back. Photo cell here at the front. These photo cells, about half of them that I get in the shop, they have separated from the prism. In other words, this photo cell is mounted in, I think it's a piece of glass. Yeah, it is a piece of glass. Glued into a piece of glass, and the glass is glued to the prism. And quite often these, the glue over the years has become brittle. And maybe the customer has dropped the camera or something, but these have broken and loose, and they're just sitting in position, but they're not working very well because the light, of course, is not coming up and hitting them properly. It's just kind of hitting them at an off angle, and so the meter's not working properly. Sometimes I have to replace these photo cells because they're so old they just go out. And then we've got our galvanometer here, which your needle's in there and your target. It's a combined system. And I think that's about it. More than enough, really. This is supposed to be just remove the top cover type video. It's not supposed to be a full vlog tour. Anyway, that's it. The parts that follow are going to be, I'm hitting cameras and everything else around here. I started at 6 and it's 11. I'm getting tired. The rest of the video is going to be reassembling. And so if you've done camera repair before and you think you've got it, you don't have to watch the second half. If you're a total beginner or amateur, you probably should watch the second half. It will be all the same, really. It'll just be in reverse order. There might be a few things, but I doubt it. I've explained most of it on the way in. But I'm going to turn the camera off here now and take a break and then come back, and we're going to reassemble it and put the top cover back on. Okay, we're recording. Started at 6, it's past 11, and I'm tired. Let's see if we can get this thing back together. Okay, we got our camera here. I haven't really touched anything because I've already worked on the camera before. Although I still need to make some adjustments on it. So, the first thing we put on was this right here. And now it's the first thing we're going to take off to get the top cover back on. And you're going to be, I spent way too much time explaining the dangers of it, but you'll only understand if you accidentally get this, if you knock it and take it apart. So, I'm going to slide that over. Very carefully. There. All right. got it down. You saw how careful I was and how long I took. I was just feeling it to make sure that nothing was binding as I put the top cover on. And as you can see now, the top cover is holding this stack down of wheels and cams, so that's safe. Still, to be on the safe side, what I usually do is go ahead immediately. This is the rewind, which normally I would do last, but on this camera I immediately put this nut back on here to make sure that it cannot move. There. So the first thing we'll do, reverse order, we got to get these screws here back in, like here and here. And one thing I didn't tell you before, I'll tell you now, is that when you're reassembling the top cover and put it on, look for wires along here that work their way out. I didn't check these because I've already worked in the camera and I put the wires back where I wanted them, so I knew they were okay. But if you're an amateur and you've moved some of these wires around, when you put the top cover down, quite often you'll pinch them. So after you get the top down, don't press it, don't force it. Come over here and check and make sure you haven't hit any of these wires. I have actually, this top cover is metal. I've actually cut wires before, as years ago. I don't do that anymore. But when I was a beginner, I would, there would be wires sticking out here, and I would tighten this nut down, and as I tightened it, it would just like wire cutters. I just cut the wires along here. So be sure and check your wires here before you put the top cover down and after you put the top cover down. And maybe I'm going a little bit too fast here. It's just late and I'm tired. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera and put those top screws in. All right. Top screws are in. There's one. There's one. And there's one. So those are all down. Now we need to get these screws here and one here, which, like I said, I never could understand what their purpose was, but I need to put them in. Again, I'm going to pause the camera. Okay, I'm back. Let's see, can we get in close here? The will it focus? Maybe it's trying to focus on that petri dish. As you can see, that they are very large, very fat screws there and there. They don't seem to touch anything. Maybe they were originally had different plans for how to design this, and that's just what they ended up with, but they don't seem to do anything. But they are protruding, as you can see there, and the top cover will not come off with them in, so they do have to come out. The cover here protects this f-stop viewing system, which I explained how that works. And you can see the little bracket here, a screw goes there, and the screw goes there. So we get this little cover here, and we fit it on there like so. And I don't know if it snaps into position or not. Does it? There we go. Looks like that's lined up. Like that's lined up. Again, going to stop the camera, pause the camera to save some time. Okay, I'm back. Move that out of the way. There's one installed. And there's the second one installed. You can see the window up here, which points down at the lens f-stop. So I'm going to put this in. As you can see now, right there, the little window is pointed down at f16. And that's what I meant about lining it up properly. It's kind of a, I don't like to use the word jicky, but they made it so loose and bendable that you've got to fool with that mirror quite a bit to get it to where this whole 16 shows up. If it's not exactly lined up, the 16 may show up here, or the little window may just clip it in the middle. You just see the top half, or maybe it'll clip it and you'll see the bottom half, or maybe you'll just see the 6 or just the 1. And it's hard sometimes. You get frustrated trying to get it to where you can see that whole 16 through that little window back here, and you're watching it through your viewfinder. So we got the top cover on, we got the screws, we got the front cover on. This is not tightened yet, it's just finger tight. Next thing we're going to work on is the speed. Now, we haven't touched the speed. If I had been working on the camera, maybe I would have changed the speed control, or maybe that little string that's attached to it would be screwed up and I'd had to recalibrate everything. But at this point, it's like when we took it apart. This little mark here is pointed toward the front, which means we're in B. And this notch here for the ASA is at about 530. So we know that this is just like when we took it off. So now we just need to put the speed control over it. So let's find it here. Speed control. Okay. And I need to line it up right there. So there it is with it off. And when I slip it over, it goes just like that. And can't see this one up here too well, but it'll go in. And this one right here is for the this stud right here is telling it's the large one, and that when you put it in there, the B goes to the left and 64. And sometimes you got to kind of work them in. And for those of you that are impatient, maybe you're not as tired as I am. I repair cameras all day, and I have to come in here and make these videos. I guess I don't have to, but it sure fills up the day sometimes. I'm looking for a tool. I think I found one here that might work. And I'm trying to show you something. If you look right there, you'll see something sticking out. And what it is right here. Look, that right there, you see how it, well, there are times when you're putting the top on, it sticks out so far that that stud will not fit down in there. In other words, this one's not too bad. It'll probably go in. But I'm just warning you in case you get one that it's over just a little bit more. What you have to do is you have to push that back and press down. You see, it's gone now. Now I'm going to let up. You see, it snapped back and it's in the way. I'll do it again. You have to push it over with the tool and press down and then drop that stud in there, and then tighten your screw up here at the top. But sometimes there it is. I raised up slightly. It pops and it's in the way of the stud. And as you're pressing down, that stud will not go down in that hole. And it's all because of that little, it doesn't quite line up. I'm going to let up again. show you a third time. There we go. Okay. I can't show you that from here, but I can, now you kind of know what I'm doing. I'm going to, even though it probably would go in there, I'm going to reach down in here, push it over. I'm holding this down so it can't move. And I'm going to get this stud and try to find that hole and press down. And it went down. How do I know it went down? Because it's flush up here. If I was not down on that hole, this plate here would be up. Okay, now that it's down in the hole and it's flush, next thing I need to do is look here. See that plate moving back and forth over the hole? Got to line it up so the screw hole is lined up like so. And then put this like so. And then down. You try doing this on camera, on monitor. It's hard. Okay. There's our B at 64. We'll move it back to 100 ASA. And at 125. That's the way. When we first started going into the camera, although I don't know what take this is, I'm assuming this is the way it was when it started. I think this is my second or third take of this speed control, trying to get it right. But like I said, when you remove the knob, you want to set it on B, and you want to set it on 64 ASA. As I explained, it's spring-loaded, and it will go down here till about, the hole will, to about 530 or 5, and stay there. So when you pull off this knob, that will stay in position, and your stud will also, needs to be at about 5 o'clock. It's little things like this is the reason amateurs don't repair cameras. A camera repairman has to be there and looking over the shoulder and explain these sorts of things to them. It looks dirty, but it's not. It's just the light is dim. Goes all the way up to 1,000 ASA. Goes down, it looks like it's about a 6, 10, 6. Go back the other way. If you put it on wrong, usually the speed control will not go the full scale. In other words, it'll go part way and then stop. Okay. Sometimes the ASA is not quite centered. Like this says 100 ASA, but sometimes this plate here on the top, when it's not tight, and I am trying to loosen it. There we go. Watch this plate here. Even though the screw's in it, see how the plate's moving? I have in the past sent it off to a customer, and I had the plate kind of like this and tightened it down, and the customer sent it back and said they wanted their ASA centered. So I had to loosen this screw and move it back and tighten it down. So tightened it down. ASA now is centered. Just something for you to know that in fact the B is too far down. Let's see what we've got here. Move the B like so. Okay, I had it wrong. The B should be right here at 9 o'clock, which means the ASA needs to be there, one notch above. I had it in the wrong notch. My mistake, but a good mistake. I made a mistake and you learned from it. Now look, see the B's at 9 o'clock and the ASA 100 is centered. Before I had tightened this plate down the wrong position, and the B was down here. So just something there. This plate here on the top, counting on when you tighten the screw, can move. And what you want is the plate will only move so far, but it will move. So if you, let's say that you're working on it and you get it at 125, but the 125 is off center. Instead of being at 9, it's like at 8:30. Well, then you know that you need to move the plate up here, like so, and that you probably need to also relocate the ASA 1 notch and get it in a position also. It'll all make sense when you work in your own camera. It's just that it's not precision, and you have to make a little adjustment on it. It won't affect your pictures, but it's not the proper way to do it. And it was my mistake, an embarrassing mistake, but I, even working on cameras today, years later, sometimes I will not get this plate on exactly right. And as I'm checking the speeds, I'll notice that it's the speed is a little bit too high or a little bit too low. And I know immediately I need to loosen the plate and put it back down the proper, where it's at like 9 o'clock. And then change the ASA and get it in the proper notch to line everything up. Once you get the ASA and the speed in the right positions and tighten it down, it won't go anywhere. It'll stay in position. Okay, we've got the front on, the top cover's down, speed control's ready to go. Now we got our advance here to work on next. So I'm going to turn the camera off and sip a little bit of tea and come back and we'll get started again. Okay, I'm back and we're going to put on the advance lever. The advance lever on this camera is fairly simple, nothing complicated. Some of the advance levers on some of the cameras are very complicated, but not on this one. It just lays on top. Nothing goes underneath it. There's no washers or anything, like so. Oh, I need to show you something. I don't want to. As late as it is, I want to quit. But sometimes when you're working on it, this is just laying in here. And quite often, this will just fall out like so on your desk. But it's nothing urgent or scary or a problem. Just need to, you see that notch there? You just need to fit it over that and then slide it back down in there. Sometimes it'll fall out, sometimes it won't. You can see the stud goes right there. Doesn't hurt anything. Just something that if it falls out and I didn't tell you, you might be like, oh no, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It falls. It's just sitting in there like that. So I'm glad I caught that. Usually it falls out. I'm surprised it didn't fall out. You can see where the advance lever catches this stud here. And I don't even know. Yeah, okay, it moves that collar right here. Okay. And remember what I said, amateurs quite often send it in, they put this washer wrong. Goes on the bottom, not the top. And this pressure washer goes on top of that. Like so. The only thing I'd warn you about here is that the washer and the pressure washer sometimes will get out of alignment, and they'll block each other from the nut screwing down all the way. It doesn't happen every time, but it does happen occasionally. So how do you know that it's proper? The way you know if it's okay is by looking on the side. If the two are binding, it won't go all the way down, and you'll see one of the one washer or the other kind of protruding from the edge. In other words, they overlap and they're off a little bit, and they prevent the top from coming all the way down. So And then normally, I'm not going to tighten this much because I'll do it after the video's over. I would put tape on this and I would tighten it like so. It does not need to be real tight. That's a mistake that all amateurs make, is they put the parts on way too tight. This is not a car, it's a camera. It's more accustomed to a watch than it is an automobile. And you might have to remove this collar sometime. And if you crank it down in a year or two from now and it's oxidized a little bit, you're going to have hell getting it off. On a 1 to 10, I would tighten it up to a 3 or a 4. I wouldn't tighten it up to a 5. 3 or 4 is enough. The worst that could happen if this collar unwind is that, it would just get loose. And you would notice it a long time before it fell off the camera. So just tighten it down to 3 or 4. That's enough. Okay, over here we got this nut here. And again, it does not need to be real tight because of the way it's made and what its function. You go to clockwise, and about a 3 is enough. What I just did is enough. It's not going anywhere. And if it got loose, you would notice it immediately. It's not like it's going to destroy the camera. Okay, so here's a point where, how are you going to get this up? You want to put your nut on there. Well, I'm going to take this lens off. We don't need that. You can do it two ways. You could open the back like this, and I say like this, and then you can like push up like so, and that way you've got plenty of shaft here to work with. And then you just grab your rewind knob and put it on there. You can put it on with it all the way down, but it's more trouble. Easier to raise it up so you can see what you're doing. And I guess I can't see what I'm doing because it's not threading. There we go. Okay, and then push it down a little bit so you can see your prongs, and stick your tweezers in there. Hand tight's good enough. It doesn't need to be tighter than that. A 2 to a 3 maybe not even a 3 is all it takes. There are some cameras that might take more, but on this particular camera, 2 to 3 is enough. Okay, and then we close the back. And then what else? Well, we've got the bottom cover that we took off. I'm going to pause the camera. Okay, I'm back. Bottom cover's on. Top cover's on. This little cover here is screwed on. Rewind has been tightened down to a 2, maybe a 3. Your speed control is in sync with the camera underneath. The linkage is matched up, which I showed you. Advanced lever is tight also. This nut here needs to be tightened some more, but that's enough for right now. Screws are in the top cover. And that's how you get the top cover off and replace it. The people that skipped the second half actually missed quite a bit. I always seem to catch something as I'm putting it back together, like that little stud that goes in here at about 5 o'clock. If you don't move that collar that's down here in the bottom over just that fraction of an inch, you'll have the own devil's own time getting that post down there. You'll think something's wrong. And if you don't get these two washers, pressure washer and the flat washer, exactly lined up, you won't get this cap down. You may tighten it and think it's tight, but sooner or later those washers will move and this will all be loose. And so that's it. Started around 6. I think it's nearly about 12 now. I'm ready to take a break. Can't go directly to bed. I couldn't sleep. After working on a project like this, I got to kind of get in front of the computer and watch something and unwind. All right, let's go to an outro and call it a day. Okay, that's it. Hit that right there and that right there. That took longer than I thought. It always does. I said the top cover to get off on SRT 102 was easy, and it is easy for me. As I was going in and going out, things that I do normally, month after month and year after year, I just take it for granted, don't think about it. But as I was teaching you how to remove the top cover and to put it back on, and things occurred to me that I needed to explain, which, like I said, I take for granted, like putting the nut cover on top of that stack on the left-hand side, the rewind side, and to not touch it in any way, or it'll come off, and it's game over then. If that comes out, 2 hours maybe if you're really smart to get it all back together. Maybe not. I need to do a video on that. And then like over on the speed control, getting as you take it apart, etching it, the mark, and putting the hole over it, making sure that it's at B at 64 ASA when you take it apart, and knowing that hole over there that you need to put your stud in is at around 530, and knowing that when you reassemble it, that the collar on the bottom, which is spring-loaded, will stick out just a small bit, a 1/16 of an inch, and will block your stud on the top cover from going down in the hole, and you have to push it back out of the way and press down on that speed control to keep it in place while you put the top cover on. And things like that, the top cover has a lot of play in it, so you have to get it into position at your speeds at 9 o'clock before you tighten down the screw. Things like that, I do them automatically. I don't think about it. But a beginner, if I had an apprentice right here in my shop, I would have to teach him those things, and I have to teach you those things, and it makes the videos way too long. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to make a full camera course on a camera. I keep promising myself I will, but even these small things like removing top covers seems like it takes over an hour. I can't imagine how long it would take to do a full course. Anyway, I guess that's about it. I'm kind of rambling now. We need to wrap this up. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you enjoyed the video and will find it useful. And later.